Some new exciting things coming soon down the road. And
we're excited about that. We actually just got out of a meeting for this upcoming project that we have going on here soon.
It's been in the works now for 2 years now?
I think we've at least been talking about it for a couple of years. So you'll be hearing more about that here in the coming days, weeks, and we're looking forward to it. Meanwhile here,
Exciting
I am
stuff.
learning how to use this live streaming software that Todd has introduced me to here, and Todd is going to be giving me a live crash course on how to use it. If you have comments and you want to interact with us, you can tune in to my Facebook Live here on my page, and you can make comments and we can kind of pop up the questions on the screen. But for you to be able to see graphics, you can tune in to KARK Fox 16 Plus or on fox16.com or KARK.com. So question here, and I can barely read that. Do I think, okay, Todd's going to edit the color here of the text, but question is, do I think Christmas could be colder? I can't read all that because it's very small. Todd, can you read that for me?
Do you think Christmas could be
in the mic?
cold? I'm working on this.
Todd's working on my text box sizes and everything, so I'm going to be able to read this a little better.
I'm getting there.
We're getting there.
I'm figuring
slowly
this thing out.
but surely.
It's about Christmas.
I think the question, Todd, you're making it smaller.
I'm working on it.
Hang in there, y'all. Bear with us. Thank you. You always bear with it.
Maston, I believe is your name. We're going to get this for you, this question. But let's talk about the weather a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about the weather.
Christmas could be cold after a warm few days before on the 22nd, 23rd. It looks like a cold front coming through just days before the 25th.
You know, I don't trust the timing of anything just directly right before Christmas at this point. That's still pretty far out. I do want to show you. I think that, if you do have a cold front that comes through, it doesn't matter how warm it is out ahead of it. It can still be a very cold Christmas. The question you just read it all out loud there. I did. But anyway, I think, Christmas could still be cold, but, the timing of those fronts that far out is a little bit difficult to pinpoint. So right now, it's a little bit early to say for sure. But let's go ahead. I wanted to show you a live look here at our Gwatney Chevrolet Tower Cam. The camera's bouncing around a little bit, but you know what is probably the most remarkable thing about this, Todd?
You tell me.
I think everybody at home already knows. I don't see any clouds out there, and that's been the first time we've been able to say that in so long, since at least the 1st of December. I'd have to go back and really see, if we had a whole lot of cloud coverage in those last days of November. I know we had some rain there in late November. I think we're all happy to see the sunshine. Okay, Todd making my live stream look good over here.
I'm working on it, Joel.
Okay, there we go.
It's not there yet, Joel.
No, it's great. We appreciate.
We're getting there. Okay.
Appreciate that comment there, Masson. We got another question here. When are we going to get snow?
Well, I think when it gets cold enough and there's enough moisture, we're going to see some snow.
Yes. I mean, whenever that may happen.
In other words, we don't know. But I can tell you it's not going to happen anytime soon.
No. And look, we do have some cold temperatures that are on the way. I'll show you our high temperature guidance. This is based on Little Rock. But Sunday, do highs stay below freezing?
I think so. In some parts of Arkansas. Now, I haven't gone quite that cold. I've got 35. But remember, if you followed me when I had the Arkansas weather blog for many, many years, I used to always say Arctic air arrives sooner than the model's forecast and stronger than the model's forecast. So I don't think it's going to arrive much sooner than what is being depicted, and we'll show that to you. But I've never seen an Arctic air mass come in and then you say, oh, our forecast was too warm. Never has that happened.
Usually it is a little colder than what models suggest. Right. The other question is this cold going to last long enough for us to have an opportunity to get the moisture in here? What I often do see when we do get snow in here, if I'm looking at this, I would feel better about snow chances if we had days of cold air that settles in, or if that 31 went down to like 21, and then it takes longer to get those temperatures back up. And in the process of getting those temperatures back up, you get moisture.
Right. And that is what's in the forecast for the middle of next week. But it has temperatures going up in the 50s. That Arctic high slides east, and we get some moisture on the return flow of that.
But by the time the moisture gets back in here,
theoretically, it's above freezing. But I'm not going that warm next Wednesday. I think it will be colder than that. I think you're going to see a lot of what we just saw where the clouds hamper a warm-up.
I believe that.
And so that the modification of those temperatures, while it will be coming out of the cold, but I don't think it warms up like it is depicted there.
But it doesn't look like we're going to be below freezing or near freezing when that precip finally gets here, which at this point, and we're going to look at models here, but it looked like Wednesday. And I want to check and make sure, obviously, that that's still the case, and I'm going to have to remove the fronts from this graphic because they need to be redrawn and replaced. But
don't worry about that.
I know, but I still.
Let me tell you, it's going to be horribly cold up in Iowa, the Great Lakes, all the way in that area, Illinois.
We'll have to show
Ohio
some
River.
of those maps here in just a little bit because it just gets.
It's nasty cold.
Can I just say that's what I always call booger freezing cold. Can I say that on here?
You know, this is not regulated by the
air.
FCC, but it is regulated by Nexstar Broadcasting.
I've always, and this is anybody who's ever been in the Midwest, you're laughing because it's true.
People's names are Booger. There was a great character in the name.
There are towns called
Booger Hollow, Arkansas.
Really?
There's Booger Hollow, Arkansas.
Hollow, yeah. So.
You know, and then there's Booger from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, exactly. So
you haven't seen that movie. Don't tell me exactly.
No, I haven't. But no, that's it is a thing though. I just saw that. That's also caught me off guard there. But anyway, but yeah, no, that cold up in the Midwest, weird things happen. I've seen, I don't know if antifreeze actually, I've heard stories of like antifreeze like getting a little like freezing. It was like antifreeze doesn't like to freeze.
Yeah, it's called antifreeze for a reason.
So
it is, I guess, maybe if you have a lot of water in it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know if I don't know. I've never
I
actually
just use
seen
antifreeze.
But looking at maybe even Tuesday evening of next week, we're kind of let's get out of the cold conversation because it's not going to be that cold by the time we get precip.
Well, that's
here.
the Euro. Put on the temperatures. Do you have the temperature plots on that? So if he may have the Euro or
no, wrong ones. Hold on.
He's getting there, folks. There it is. See now. That
so
is more
ICAST
believable.
Showed 50s.
Yeah, it was in the 50s. And I thought, no, because I think I only have a high of 50.
Back and let's look at Saturday real quick. Ooh, Saturday does not look as much. I think they dropped rain chances to 10%.
Yeah,
but
I went 20. It doesn't look as good.
I may just go 10. But yeah, Wednesday, just to
Well, it's got 54.
Yeah, but still, if you actually have those showers there, there's a difference between clouds and cloudy and dry. You can still warm up, but when you have rain, it makes it difficult. So
yeah,
so that may still be a little bit too warm, but I don't see any moisture in here while we are cold enough. But let's talk about. Here, I'm gonna have to close out of that.
You want to go over to Max 1?
Shoot, I closed out of the.
Just go to Max 1. I'll take care of this. You go there, because I got some things I'll show here while you're working on that. So this is the wind chill reading. This is our source region. This is where the air is coming from, and this is so vitally important this time of the year to know the source region of the air, and that's coming from Canada. And these are the wind chill readings, 40 to 50 degrees below zero, and that's going to make its trek towards the southeast into you see where it's directed. Now, it's not directed at Arkansas. It's directed northeast of us, but we're going to catch the edge of this blast of cold air coming in. It starts to come in on Saturday, but especially Sunday. But look where it's directed, off towards the north and east, where it's going to be snowing gangbusters, and has been too. That's just the pattern where these areas of snow go, and it's just been snowing like crazy from Minneapolis to Chicago in those locations. So again, it's going to get cold. It's not going to be something horrible like 2021 or 2022.
I mean, it is going to be the coldest air we've seen so far this season. I did say in a post the other day, I said the coldest air of the season. I should have said so far.
Right.
I realize that it's winter, but, it's going to be really cold, and you're going to have a wind chill. That's what I was going to pull up is feels like temperatures.
I got that.
You have that already? Okay, here we go. So this is Sunday morning. Look at that.
Yeah, and
11, Clinton.
Yeah, and let me back that up.
That's colder than
yeah,
what?
It has wind chill temperatures in the single digits and teens, which I've seen it much colder than that in December, but this is going to get your attention because I think it's going to get up towards 60 degrees. It's in the 60s now, but again on Friday. And then we go back into the teens for wind chill readings on Monday with actual air temperatures that are going to be right around 20 degrees, even into central Arkansas at that time.
Yeah, brutal stuff, yeah. So...
It's just like it's a studio. There's a lot going on.
But yeah, it's going to be really cold early next week. Again, not the coldest air we've ever seen. Is it pipe bursting cold? No. Probably not.
Well,
it depends on your home, how well it's insulated. I mean, that's, but I don't see us being, and if we stay below freezing all day Saturday, I think when it comes to pipes bursting, there's questions like how cold is it and how long are you below freezing? I feel like the duration of the freeze there plays a big role in it. But I don't see us having, certainly not what we had back in 2022, late 2022.
No.
I feel like that was the last really big pipe bursting cold we had.
Yeah, maybe so. We had some last January.
Last year, and yes, there were pipes that broke, but
right.
That was more of the snow than we had. Like, I feel like we didn't get the deep cold last year that we did in 2022.
Now,
that was widespread.
What Maston was talking about there was the potential for what's going to go on at Christmas. And believe me, I've been looking at all this stuff, and I look, there's a warm-up coming, all right? I don't think there's any way of getting out of the warm-up. And we start talking about the beginning of that by the middle of next week. But the pattern, though, Joel, is that any warm-up that we get is going to be greeted by a cool-down.
Yeah.
And if you look at the cycle of what we're going through, there should be something around Christmas time that brings in cool. I'm not saying Christmas is going to be cold, but around that time period, we're going to get another front through here. Is it going to be similar to what we're seeing now or stronger? We don't know.
Yeah, and you showed the map earlier, and I wouldn't hate if you pulled that up again to show how the cold air kind of stays to our northeast, the core of the coldest air. When that happens, though, we're sometimes on the very tail end of a front, like it's much weaker northeast, where the core of that cold air, look at that right there. So you got these fronts that are going to be diving south. This is Friday specifically, but notice those darker purples, they're not going into Arkansas. They're going to kind of sideswipe the northeast part of the state. So places like Kentucky up to Indiana, Illinois, that's where the core of the coldest air will be. But we get a cold front, obviously, this weekend. There's actually a couple of pushes of colder air. But then beyond that, it kind of looks like we'll have other cold fronts that come down, and I think
there's one the middle to end of next week that the models and the models did not pick up on this Arctic blast about a week ago.
Yeah,
and so if you're trying to predict something at Christmas and you're saying, "Oh, it's going to be warm for Christmas," you're really putting your neck out there.
I will say Christmas is getting here faster than we realize. It always does.
But it's more than a week away.
But it is more than a week away, and so when you're talking about more than a week away, timing of these fronts, you're like, okay, there's a front somewhere in there, but when is it going to pass through? And is it a cold front that we rebound quickly from, or is there another cold front right behind it that reinforces the cold air that the first one brings, right?
Right.
So, and that's going to be a question that, we'll have to look at in the next few days, and of course, we'll be keeping you updated.
I also look at the long-range models. What it's doing is it's putting, and I would show you on Weather Bell, but what it's doing is it's putting the ridge just west of Alaska, and that bothers me when it's west of Alaska and allows that trough in Alaska. That usually means that the cold air will not make it this far south. But the only adjustment the model has to do is just be a little further east with that ridge and maybe a little further east with that trough, and you're going to have cold air coming south out of Canada. But again, I'm just basing it on the data that I'm looking at right now. And things change quickly because that's the way it looked for this weekend, that the cold air was not going to push south. And lo and behold, there's a little chunk that's going to push south. The EPO, this is the most underrated teleconnection, I think. Look at the EPO. Everybody looks at NAO, AO. I love to look at the EPO. When that thing goes negative, that means Alaskan ridging. That means the cold air is coming south. And when you look at the EPO, there's a huge dip to negative. And that correlated very well with this blast of cold air.
Yeah. So, it's good to keep an eye on those teleconnections because that really gives us a clue. And I think it really, we were talking about this, and we looked at the European weeklies a lot, leading up, and we were able to tell that, yes, early December brought some colder weather. It didn't get here as early as Thanksgiving, but it got here in the early week of December. But even still, it wasn't a cold that like sat in here and stayed for I would say it stuck around, but it wasn't deep freeze. It was like right around freezing. That's why we had those two kind of near. I wouldn't say. I won't say we dodged a bullet because Todd doesn't like that. And I agree. I see your
dodging a bullet. No, we got the forecast wrong. That's whenever somebody says we dodged a bullet, that means we got the forecast wrong. That's what that means.
Really?
Yes, we dodged a bullet. No, the weather was always going to do what it's going to do. The weather was always going to do what it's going to do.
I see what you're saying, but
we just missed it.
I don't think that admits that, but
we didn't dodge a bullet though, because it was what was going to happen was always going to happen.
Finish talking. So
what?
Well, no. What I was saying though was that we had a couple of events, but they were close to freezing, but they weren't.
Right.
So our forecast was spot on.
I agree.
It could have been a little cold. Had it been a little colder.
Had it been,
yeah. So in that sense, no.
Did we dodge a bullet?
No, I wouldn't have said that, but especially since Todd doesn't like that. So, but I don't think that when
to me that's putting the blame on something else.
No, I think I think what you're saying is a lot of people use that to cover themselves if they've messed
that's
a
it
forecast
right there.
up. So a lot of people have done that, but I don't think that's.
I have never done that before.
So humble.
We need to have an episode.
So humble.
We need to have an episode of our biggest forecast bust because I've got some doozies. I've got some doozies.
Do you want to do that? We go back and find.
I'll tell you one real quick.
Okay.
It's 317.
Stories.
All right. So this is back when I worked in Chattanooga, and
I think I remember hearing this story. But
ahead. It was that we were predicting a snowstorm with at least 6 inches of snow, and I started questioning it because I saw 850 millibar temperatures. That's the air at about 5,000 feet, going +2, +3, +4.
So you thought it would be more of a freezing rain?
Well, I thought. Well, I just remember saying it's not going to be snow. And so the chief meteorologist there, he was like, that doesn't look like snow to me either. And then we called the Weather Service office in Morristown. This was a long time ago. The same people are not there. And they go, no, it's going to snow in Chattanooga. It's going to snow in Chattanooga. And we were perplexed. We didn't know what to do. So we decided to go with the Weather Service and whatever they were saying. We thought, at that time, this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we thought, they've got better equipment to access to information than we did at the TV station at that time. So we leaned on them and their expertise. Well, guess what? It was rain. And it's like one of those things like, I wish I had gone with it.
Yeah.
But so we planned all this live coverage, and I'll remember the reporter out there with his ruler putting it down on the ground on the sidewalk, and it was wet. He goes, nothing.
Yeah, that's a bad.
And that was a bad bust, but it was one of those busts that was avoidable if we had trusted our gut. But back then, the information didn't flow as well as it does now, and we had limited access to some of that, to a lot of that information.
Well, and I remember you also telling me a story from when you were there that I think it was raining down in the valley, but it was snowing up in the mountain, and so you've got people who were saying, why are we making this a big deal? It's not snowing, but then you had people sliding down the mountains.
Right, and there's a population. People live up on Lookout Mountain, Signal Mountain, those locations in Chattanooga. They're up there, not several thousand, but they're way up there, and it could be snowing. And at this particular point, they had 6 inches of snow, I think, or more. And then you go just a little bit down the mountain into the valley where Chattanooga is, it's just rain.
Yeah. I just wanted to get to some of these questions here real quick. Leah Cox said, hi, Todd and Joel. I've been waiting for a prediction for Christmas.
Well, it's going to be on the 25th.
Christmas is on the 25th.
How about that? Mark it down.
I think, as we mentioned earlier, timing out the fronts this far out, it does look like, we're still, are we a week and a half now from Christmas?
Yeah, 15 days away. It's the 10th.
So about 2 weeks away. So that's too far out at this point to get specific there.
But
Todd is looking at something right now. So based off of what we're looking here, we're not able to look at this here on either of our live streams here, but
this is the European weeklies that have been. This is exactly what it showed for this time period now, where the trough was going to be over Western Canada, in the northwestern United States, and we'd have ridging. It was going to be above average. Well. That didn't happen because that trough was further east. There's big ridging in the Aleutians where I'd like to see troughing. But you see that trough northwest of Hawaii? Whenever you have a trough northwest of Hawaii, that usually means that the system that's out there in the western United States is going to kick out. it's going to advance. It's not going to get hung up. Plus, you almost see, and I'm trying to show Joel, blocking trying to form over the top here of the poles. So I would expect that trough to pull out into the plains, into the central and eastern United States. But the model does not do that. It keeps it across, and I think it may be an error.
Well, what it's almost suggesting is that ridge over the southeast would be a little stronger, and
It
I
does.
don't know that.
It does.
Looking at the strength of that cold air there before.
You see a lot of blocking there. It's just that cold air could build up and it could overwhelm the pattern because the models are not going to understand Arctic air, and it could just dive south. You got to keep that in mind. So when you look at these long-range maps here for Christmas and beyond, and you think, oh, we're going to be warm. If there's a tremendous amount of Arctic air, the model will not be able to handle what to do with that.
Yeah. Someone else, by the way, I just want to address this. Where are the graphics? You can watch our live stream on KARK Fox 16 Plus, as well as on fox16.com, KARK.com. This is just a live stream that we're doing here behind the scenes so that we can take questions and interact, because right now we don't have that capability through our live stream that we actually do every day. So again, this live stream that we're doing on KARK Fox 16 Plus and on KARK.com, fox16.com, that's every day. This is just behind the scenes here that I'm doing the live stream here on my computer. So I just want to make that clear. So if you want to tune in, you can do it. Just go to fox16.com. At the top of the screen, it'll say watch live. You should be able to see us there.
I also want to talk about, too, about what happened today 4 years ago. Okay. I think it was 4 years ago. Yeah, it was. On December 10th of 2021. I remember my forecast called. I remember the forecast. I got this. I said that we would not have tornadoes in central Arkansas, that it would be in northeast Arkansas. Right. And the storm formed right over Little Rock. Okay. So we had a supercell form right over Little Rock. And when it got to Woodruff and Jackson County, it started developing a tornado. And that became the Mayfield, Kentucky tornado.
That tornado initially touched down, I believe, in Craighead County. It went up through Monette, and it hit a retirement home.
I think it touched down in Jackson County, lifted up. I think it lifted up.
Okay, so that cell, though, produced a tornado.
Produced tornadoes, but then it put down one that tracked from near Jonesboro all the way through Mayfield, Kentucky.
And I don't remember where there I can't remember. I know that there were injuries up in Monette at the Manor. There was also Leechwood, I think, is a town up there. And then it stayed on the ground. I think it crossed over I-55 near Hayti, Missouri.
Okay.
And then it went all the way up Real Foot Lake. That thing was on the ground. Mayfield, and that was just...
It was 100 or something miles.
That was the largest town that was hit. Of course, the Candle Factory.
It would have been the longest track tornado, I think, in U.S. history, but I believe the National Weather Service office in either Memphis or Nashville found a gap where it was broken into two because it lifted up and then touched back down. And it was not a long gap, but if that gap had closed...
What was it?
I can't remember, but if it didn't have that gap, it would have been one of the longest track tornado in U.S. history.
And the longest track tornado, is that still the Tri-State tornado?
I think so.
Back in the 30s? Was it 30s?
Before my time.
Yeah.
And that's a long time. But the other thing about that is that we were thinking that it was going, and this is one of the things that you got to understand when it comes to Arkansas and tornadoes. We haven't had an F5 tornado since 1929. And this was a 4 in northeast Arkansas. But if that tornado...
Was that Judsonia? What was that?
Sneed. It was up in northern Jackson County. The Sneed tornado, Swifton, Sneed, that area of northern Jackson County.
Talking about that now.
So if this had that tornado touched down in northeast Arkansas and was EF4, but if it had reached 5 intensity in Tennessee,
that would have made this
a 5, the first 5 in Arkansas, even though we didn't have 5 damage in Arkansas. That was the big topic of discussion.
That is a technicality, and we ran into that. We ran into that back on March 14th. There was a tornado that had touched down in very far northern Arkansas, northern Baxter County, north of Mountain Home, and it was rated EF1 on the Arkansas side. But over in Missouri,
it was a 3.
It was a 3. It might have gotten up to. Did it get up to 4?
It may have.
I think it was at least a 3.
At least,
I know it was at least a 3. But once they determined, yes, it was the same tornado, then that meant that tornado. I can't remember the name of the town. It starts with a G. Grambling something, or I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, whatever the town name was, that then became an EF3 tornado, even though the 3 damage was up in Missouri.
Yeah. So those are the technicalities that we got to deal with, with borders and states and all that. Tornadoes don't know borders. Tornadoes don't know states.
I didn't know the name of that town name now.
But yeah, that was a 4. Arkansas has not had a 5 since 1929.
But we almost did back in March, because that tornado at Diaz was incredibly strong.
Yeah. And you look at Mayflower, Valonia, they thought that was a 5. No, it wasn't. Arkadelphia back in 1999 or 97. No, that was a 4. So we've come very close.
Gamaliel was the name of the Gamaliel, and Bakersfield was where it reached EF3 intensity.
Okay.
Bakersfield, Missouri. Anyway, that was going to drive me crazy until I knew for sure. But anyway, so all that said, now we're talking about severe weather. This is not as fun of a conversation this time of year. I know snow is and I know that obviously that's your preference. But yeah, that anniversary, that was 4 years ago.
4 years ago today, 2021.
Wow. That's crazy.
Now, also think about what happened in 2021 too, because earlier that year, that was a year of extremes. Earlier that year in February, we had the back-to-back snowstorms and the extreme cold.
Earlier in that
year. What a year that was. And then you had COVID too. I mean, it was...
2020 and 2021 were just one big blur, right?
Yeah, a bad blur.
We'll look and see if we have any other questions here.
I'm looking here at the long-range stuff.
Austin is asking you, Todd, how fun was it making the
Austin Powers?
Austin Lovenstein.
Oh, Austin Powers. The videos with Pool Boy.
Those are always really entertaining.
Pool Boy was the star of this year's videos. His acting skills are much better than mine. And the interesting thing about what Pool Boy did in those videos, Pool Boy, by the way, is a DJ, Alice 107.7. I grew up with him. We lived just a few houses down, and we grew up together.
Is he a little younger than you were?
He's a little younger than I am. But there's a scene in those videos where there's basketballs at the top of the staircase, and all the basketballs go down the staircase, and he goes tumbling with the basketballs. He sacrificed his body, and he had a massive bruise on his side and a cut where it was bleeding, and I mean a massive bruise. He sacrificed his body.
Taking one for the team.
He did. And we raised, for Catholic high school, need-based tuition. If you want to go to Catholic high school, if you want to go there and you can't afford it, we're going to pay for it. And that's what this stuff does. These fundraisers, we raised, I think it was $150,000.
Speaking of raising money, we have the Food for the Holidays telethon that is going right now. We've got a team of folks over here that are taking calls right now, donations for the Arkansas Food Bank. And Todd has tweeted out, I'm going to push this a little bit later on, but $1 donation provides food for 5 meals. And I know that there's a lot of folks that are in need. I know that there's much larger number of people than we realize, people that we live among and work among who don't know where their next meal is coming from. So if you would, please, and if you can, make a donation. That phone number is 501-340-4911. It's easy. $1, $2, $3, $5, $10, $100, whatever. And we're on pace right now to have a record-breaking day, and we need your help to do it. So please help out. Like I said, one donation provides food for 5 meals. If 5 meals can feed a family for a single day, that's a day that those people don't have to worry about where their food's going to come from. That's an extra meal that maybe wouldn't have been had. It might be that meal that, I don't know, just gets them through the next day. And the thing about this, it's the Arkansas Food Bank, so where you're helping your neighbor. It's here. The need is here. It stays here. And Arkansas, we're always there. When you look at tragedies, you look at, telethons like this, you always come through because that's what we do. That's who we are. Please donate. 340-4911, area code 501-340-4911. Yep, exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I'll go ahead and just leave that up there. Leave that up there. I'm going to, let's see, Max 2. There we go. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. We will see y'all at 4 o'clock on KRK4 News at 4, 5, and 6, and on Fox 16 News at 5:30 and 6:30.